Lately, I've been thinking a little about the style advice that I would give my 20-year-old self. Essentially, all of the lessons that I learned throughout my 20s and now into my early 30s, and how these would have been really revolutionary for me at the very beginning of my personal style journey, as I was exploring my taste and how I wanted to express myself outwardly, as what we do choose to unclothe ourselves with is part of our personal identity and how we choose to communicate that to the world. So I thought I would share those with you today. And the first one is that something being classic is not equal to it being part of your personal style. And what I mean by this is that you've probably seen, especially in the capsule wardrobe space, this idea that you need to have a specific set of items in your wardrobe. And the reality is that just because an item is classic doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to gel with or suit your lifestyle. It might not even be your personal taste. You might not like the way that this particular item looks on you for whatever reason. And it's really been over the last 5 years that I've come to this realization that those items don't belong in your closet. You should find items that do bring you joy, that you feel comfortable in and great in, and is something that you would consider a key building block for your style. I think part of the problem that I have with these lists these days is that they really encourage this homogenous looking wardrobe where everyone's outfits look the same. And while there is nothing wrong with that, it sort of lacks the creativity that I think many of us are currently craving. And it doesn't encourage you to find your own visual voice. It's essentially a blueprint to building a wardrobe, not a blueprint to finding your personal style. The second style lesson I wish I knew when I was 20 is all around the nuance of color and how this plays into our outfits and how we express ourselves, and more specifically I would say undertone and saturation and depth of color. So understanding that there are cool, warm and neutral undertones and how to best identify which ones look good against your complexion, and also understanding your own contrast and features and how the colors that you're choosing really lean into or can really throw that all off balance. Now, this is not to say that you can't wear those colors that are traditionally not suited to your complexion, but instead understanding how to incorporate them into your outfits in a different way. So for example, I know that lilac, especially a cool tone lilac, is not something that suits me at all. It makes me look very sallow and makes me look a little bit sickly. So if I wanted to wear lilac, I would probably look to wear it either on my lower half or incorporate it in my accessories in some way. Perhaps looking at something like gloves or a handbag as opposed to earrings, which are close to my face, or even a scarf, which again is going to sit really close to my face and highlight the fact that it is a color that goes against my natural coloring. The third lesson is one I talk about often, and that is that there is quality to be found at every single price point. Especially at the very start of my style journey and capsule wardrobe journey, I was very fixated on this idea of spending the most that I could possibly afford on basic items like t-shirts, singlets, things that generally do tend to wear out a little bit faster than others because they are a high frequency or high rotation item in our wardrobes. And this ended up being a really costly lesson for me, as I found out that sometimes these items wear out faster than their more inexpensive alternatives. And what it has really driven me to do is to seek out really well made and high quality items at every price point. So I'm often talking about how I love getting some of my basics from Uniqlo, even some of their tailoring is absolutely incredible, as well as H&M. It's all about looking at the details, the stitching, and also having a good understanding of fabrics and the fabrics that they've used. And a lot of this does come with time and with experience. So really actually taking time to feel fabrics, to understand these things so that you can be a smarter and more savvy shopper. The fourth lesson is that I wish I understood my proportions. And I have to say, this is information I especially wish that I had had in my teenage years, an age of comparison where we are constantly comparing ourselves to our peers, because it would have allowed me to understand how to best champion my body shape. I feel like it would have also saved me so much dressing room grief over the years. You know, that feeling when you go into the dressing room, you try something on that looks incredible on the hanger, but it just does not work out with your proportions because you haven't understood either A, the best way to style it for you, so understanding things like where hemlines end can create a visual break and is going to cut your body in a certain way, and certain visual breaks tend to be more flattering or more visually appealing on our eyes. And This is actually going to lean into my next point, but understanding these simple concepts, the rule of thirds, it would have just helped me so much during a time when I was really starting to spend a lot more on my closet and really think and try to consider what would be enduring pieces in my wardrobe for the years to come. My final piece of style advice to my 20-year-old self would be to wear the clothes that you want to wear. And for me, this is more of a nuanced conversation because I feel like my personal style was not like my peers at all, maybe a couple of my really close friends, but in general in my friend group, I dressed quite differently. I was not afraid to wear things that were a little bit more unusual as I really explored and played with my personal style. However, there are certain elements of what I was reaching for, things that I just did not feel comfortable in. So really kind of bodycon dresses or even things that bared a little bit of skin. And so to me, it's ironic that now in my mid-30s, after having 2 children, I finally feel comfortable to do so. I feel confident in my body. And again, maybe this is something that comes with age, but something I would tell myself at 20 is to wear the clothes that you want to wear, and also to not pay attention to what is traditionally flattering or what someone else thinks looks good on you, because what looks good on you is not necessarily the same as what feels good to you to wear. And because what we wear is such a strong visual representation or expression of ourselves, I think it's more important to lean into what you feel comfortable wearing and to not pay mind or take heed of what other people say about the items that you're wearing. I think the Margiela tabby flats are definitely a really good example of this because they are a very divisive item. They're something I personally really like, but they're a strong statement, and there will be people who really do not understand them, and that's totally fine. And their thoughts are valid in their own minds and to them and their context, their personal experiences, whereas to you, you might have a completely different perspective on it, and that's also okay. And it's just to, I suppose, really champion your own experience, your own thoughts, rather than letting other people's voices creep in and have a say into how you feel about a particular piece. So, and that is where I'm going to sort of leave things off in this video. Those are the lessons I would have told my 20-year-old self. I would love to know what lessons you would have told your 20-year-old self. Please pop them down in the comment section below so that we can share your lessons with everybody else and also just have a little bit of a discussion down there. Thank you so much for joining me, for spending some of your day here with me. If you are new here or just haven't subscribed yet, I would love for you to do so, and I will see you next week with a brand new video. See you very soon, and thank you again for watching. Bye.